Hello, this is Eric Lee, and I have now completed the Awesome Baduk Masterclass hosted by the Awesome Baduk team. And I wanted to sort of reflect and review and give my thoughts on the class itself. Um, and I wanted to kind of go through my favorite moments of each game that we went over because we did 8 games. And I feel that I have raised my own skill ceiling and understanding of the game. Um, but even more than that, I feel like I enjoy Go more after this month. Um, I took this class because I wanted to be a little bit improvement focused. Um, but afterwards, not only did I feel that it was constructive, but I felt that I was also enjoying the game more. And I think that's kind of like a double benefit here. One thing I really liked was that while we're studying these pro games, um, the two main teachers who were talking to us were, of course, Yoon Young-sun, 8 dan professional living in Germany currently, and also Brian, who is Che Wonjin, currently, I believe, a 3 dan professional in Korea. And Brian, I want to highlight Che Wonjin. He was definitely very unassuming kind of person. He spoke very humbly. Um, he didn't put his credentials in the channel that we were mostly talking in. And he always tried to give our ideas and responses a lot of time and respect. Uh, then I looked up his credentials after finishing the class, um, and he is, uh, you know, he's ranked in the top 120 in Korea currently as an active competitor. He's done well. I believe he's best 8 in like one of the newer pro tournaments. He is a young player, active in the competitive scene with a bright future in the game, and he decided to help teach this class because it's something that he was passionate about, and I really felt that. I got a lot out of it. He definitely spent a lot of time and effort answering our questions and giving us his personal opinions, um, showing us his reasonings, and it felt a lot like a conversation. Um, I think a lot of times when you take lessons in for English players, especially from professional players, it's a very much they speak, you listen kind of deal, right? But it never felt like this kind of vibe in the master class. It felt like they were showing us the games, but they encouraged us to experience it, and um, obviously there were concrete takeaways that they had for every game. But other than that, we were building an understanding of what the games were in our own heads because we had to memorize them, right? And in order to memorize these games, you kind of have to make sense of each move as they occur to you. So you're learning how professionals kind of think, what the flow of the game is, and I definitely feel like this is kind of helping a lot with the intangible factor of Go, where it feels, if you've ever felt like you do a lot of study, but it doesn't really translate to gains in your game, or it feels like it doesn't translate to an overall gain in your understanding of Go, then I definitely recommend trying a course like this. I really enjoyed myself, and I feel that I have learned a lot. and my play has changed. My candidate moves have increased by a lot, and I really think that it was very productive for me. If they decide to do it again and the games are different, I would absolutely join again. I had such a blast. I would do it off the strength of that alone. One thing I want to highlight is that when they advertise the course, they advertise it as 50 euros. But uh, one of the things that, if you read a little bit deeper into the fine print, they also say that if you are an Awesome Baduk member, the course is half off. And they offer a free first month membership. So really, the course is 25 euros. And at worst, if you've already used up your free month, 1 month is 10 euros. So the actual cost of this course, while I was originally looking at it and was like, wow, 50 euros is pretty steep for a month, a course. But 35 is much more reasonable. And 25 is absolutely reasonable. I got this course for 25 euro. It felt definitely like I got more than my money's worth. So if you're looking for bang for your buck kind of course, I definitely recommend this. I just want to share now the favorite things that favorite takeaways from these games that we ended up going through. So the first one is Shin Min-jun versus Yamayuta. And if you look at this sequence here, it really feels like black was way too passive and gave white way too much. And when I was memorizing this game, I was like, wow, I don't understand how black can ever be satisfied with what happened here. And I think that this is awful for black. And I was ready to watch the review and be told why Yamayuta played this way, and there's some kind of deep meaning behind it. And well, it turns out that it's really hard to know how to play in this area for humans. And really, like, yes, probably Yamayuta should have played something like e7 here. But yeah, it seems like he was just too passive. And that's when I started realizing that, like, oh no, so like I shouldn't just blindly discount my intuition just because I'm a weaker player, right? I need to form conclusions about the game that make sense to me, and I need to build off of that. So, it was very affirming when I played these sequence out, and I thought to myself, wow, I can't believe that this is what black got, and black is satisfied playing a move like h7. This feels awful. And then you go into the pro game review, and the teacher tells you, yeah, this isn't very good. And then you look at it in the AI, and it says, oh yeah, this isn't very good. And it's very it feels like it boosts your confidence in your own intuition, right? And judgment. So I really enjoyed parts of the class where this happened, where I gained confidence in my own intuition and reasoning. So that's that game. Let's see. We've got Guzahal versus... the next one is Xin Jinso versus Zhao Chenyu. Let me bring that up. Xin Jinso versus Zhao Chenyu. Yeah, so there's actually two parts of this game that I really like. The first one is obviously this move. This is such a awesome move. Definitely incredible. And it really spoke to me, like, I feel like Shin Jin-so really wanted to send a message with this game to the Chinese team in the Nongshim Cup. And, in chess they call them provocative moves. And a lot of this game felt like it was filled with these provocative moves. For example, Shin Jin-so invaded here, and it feels like overplay. And then he invades here, and it also feels like insane overplay. Turns out it was overplay. But Zhao Chenyu misplayed against this and collapsed in the fight afterwards. So it really like a lot of this month has been like reminding myself that like this game, when we talk about pro players, a lot of times there's a tendency to deify them, right? There's a tendency to sort of put them on this pedestal, but they're human beings that, just like us, and they make moves, you know, for human reasons, right? And I feel like a lot of what was done here was sort of to send a message. Playing Q9 and this invasion here at R14, I feel like um, they definitely are they have much better tools, right? They have their skills are way better. They're better at reading, calculation, judgment. They have a better library of shapes that they can call from, and they have a better way of verifying whether or not moves are good or bad. But there, to find candidate moves, you still rely on your intuition, and there's still something where Shinjin So says, you know, like I am playing this move and I'm going to make it work. And understanding that like this is part of the decision making process, and that you shouldn't discount it just because they are high level players. Was my takeaway from this game, and I thought it was really cool. Incredible game. Um, this Q9, still one of my favorite moves. What an awesome move. You won't get this move from AI review. You can only see moves like this if you do this kind of study, and I feel like the class it gave you this kind of accountability to help you do this kind of study that you wouldn't do normally. I wouldn't have done this study if I hadn't joined the class, right? And then I wouldn't have seen Q9. I wouldn't have experienced this move. I wouldn't have seen this game, and I got a lot of enjoyment out of it. Okay, so let's see what's the next one. Ichirikiryo versus Shiaka. Let's switch to that game. Okay. Yeah. Ichirikiryo versus Shiaka. And this one, Shiaka made a bunch of incomprehensible moves to me. Like here, Q8. Q8 was like really weird to me. I was like, what is this doing? This feels insanely slow, right? If I wanted to do something here, I would play R9, but it doesn't work, right? So, like, maybe this is a peep at R9. Maybe you're supposed to answer, and then white doesn't answer, but you can't play R9 anymore because it still connects. And then you play here, and the computer hates these moves. The computer thinks these moves are incredibly slow. And then white doesn't answer, but the computer says you should answer. And then Shiako plays this move, and like to play an empty triangle in sequence, right? You here, then here, then here was just like kind of antithetical to the play that I've been used to seeing from professionals. So I thought it was really weird. And it really helped me reframe like weird moves. Where it's like, okay, yeah, I mean it's slow but it's doing something. You have to understand what the purpose of the move is, and you have to, you know, prepare accordingly. And this move carves out all the eye space of this group, and now it has to run, and this causes a whole thing to happen in the center of the board. That Ichirikiryo eventually gets the better of and wins the In Cup, which was really cool that we were going over games of such high significance, right? But like, I thought that like this sequence was really like eye opening. That like, you know, it just because these are slow and just because the AI doesn't like them doesn't mean humans don't play them. Doesn't mean that like you have to understand like these moves happen and they have a purpose and a reason, They're people play them. They have reasoning behind them, and it's really important to keep that in mind. And that's something that I did enjoy a lot from this game. The next one is Kim Eun-ji versus Xier Hall. Let me switch to that one. Kim Eun-ji versus Xier Hall. Is that the Samsung? Yes, yes. This was the game where Kim Eun-ji made the top 16 of the Samsung Cup. And for this one, I really enjoyed the fight here, where because in the other game when I watched Kim Eun-ji versus Sumire, she was a very solid player, and here she made a bunch of very solid moves, right? Very solid, very solid, and even these crawls, because S7 is Sente, White is going to get to make an I here, and it's a very like no nonsense, not a lot of trouble to be made over here. And over here she was very solid and principled, right? It was very easy to understand why she played a lot of these moves. She just, plays a solid structure, connects solidly, and then here she attacks, and she attacks with this Kosumi, and then Hane, and then double Hane. And I thought that was really cool. And this was my first exposure to Kim Eun-ji's style, and I really like it. After reviewing the 2 games of hers in this series, it's really cool to watch someone play solidly and then attack very severely later on. And because of the resulting attack from this double Hane, she gains an advantage, which is really cool. She maintains the the solidness of the corner, and Black is the one kind of Black is the one who's busy trying to cross off a lot of things off of his to-do list. And because of this, Kim Eun-ji got to the top 16 of the Samsung Cup. I really liked this double Hane, because after watching this whole opening where everything was solid, now we suddenly see this fierce attack, and it's a very imitable model for us amateurs, right? Because we like solid and simple things, and it shows us that this kind of style works even at Kim Eun-ji's level. You can play solid and then come back and attack very severely, and it was great to learn these things. Okay. Let's move on. So I have Chaejong versus Lee Chang-ho. Yeah, that one was crazy. This one? No. Here we are. Chaejong versus Lee Chang-ho. Yeah. Mr. Stone Buddha is apparently a cosmic player. And like when I first opened this game up, and you see the result is that Lee Chang-ho won this game, and you look at L12, and for us amateurs, right, we see moves like L12 and we're like, this is nonsense. Whoever is playing this doesn't understand the game. They're just trying to like play these fluttery high moves, right? Especially if you played in like the 2000 to the 2010 decade. I think that, you look up to players like Lee Chang-ho a lot. And Lee Chang-ho kind of demonstrated that you can just play for territory and then enter an early end game and win. And like this like flutterily this cosmic like I'm playing the 9-12 or the 9-8 point right now, like deal with it. It's really eye-opening, and it really a lot of these games really showed me that like Go is so much more than I thought it was. And as as a, amateur Don player, you trick yourself into feeling like you get the game. And one thing I really, really liked about this course was that they didn't tell you you don't get the game. They just had you memorize these games where you're like, wow, no, I actually don't understand Go. There's so much more to understand, and there's so much more to learn, and it's very clear in these games. And the sense that I get is that, like, so now that chess has had several decades with AI that beat humans, right? And they have used their tools. Their top level gameplay is kind of suffering because the game feels more and more narrow as the game devolves into drawish lines. There's a draw problem at the top level of chess, and of course Go doesn't have draws, but I think that there is this sentiment among players. Like I saw you say they'll talk about this, but there's a sentiment that the game has kind of lost its luster, its magic, because of the advent of AI. But if there's anything I've learned from this month, watching these games between high level players and going over them with AI, it feels like the game is actually just so open. Like you can play. There's so many candidate moves here. In fact, the AI didn't quite like this. This was the blue spot was actually here, but it was in the same neighborhood, right? This was actually like very close to the AI move, and it's like, no, I don't think we're having that same problem. I think that the game is maybe even in a better spot than it was before. I definitely feel like there's more freedom. There's less focus on corner variations. You do have to know a bunch of them, but uh, there's less of a focus on them, and there's more a focus on playing the game of Go. Now that we have a way to objectively measure how good your middle game and end game moves are, and see clearly where your mistakes are. I think that's awesome. We still the magic is still here. The move L12 makes me feel like the magic is still here, and that's something that I really liked a lot from this game. Let's move on. We have Shinjinso versus Guzhao. Yeah, this one. Um, this move here, D12, was so cool to me. I never thought about this kind of idea. Uh, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's a cut here, so you play here, and now you're cut. Why did you play D12? Why specifically this move, right? Um, and then you see like this, and then this, and you're like, oh, so that after this, then now this is working for black, right? And it's really cool. And I love these like invisible dual purposes, right? And this is not really an explanation that's easy to get with your own self study. So it's like, but when you see this move happen, you're like, oh, this move is here for this move. Wow. And that's also why black never exchanged b7 and c8, even though white should probably play down here because the sente against the corner. You would normally see that happen, and it's like, why would you ignore that? But you also get to do this, and it's both like flexible thinking and also these multi-purpose moves that are really cool. And it's like, oh, I should be thinking about how there are sequences that don't work, but they work with something else, so that I can use multi-purpose moves like this in order to aim at multiple things. This is the kind of thing that seems obvious when you say it out loud, but putting it into your gameplay and actually doing it is not easy. I like that in this month of study, I've gotten sort of a template for thinking that way, and it's helped me in my games, and I've been enjoying it a lot. Okay, so let's move on. I have Nakamura Sumire versus Kimonji. Yeah. So I've always thought about this Joseki, right? And it was really nice to watch them just blitz this out. And when I was going through it and memorizing it, I was like, oh wait, no, there's a lot here that makes sense, right? You've got a lot of moves here, but every move kind of makes sense, and there's very little way to deviate here, and so um it's very doable to understand this whole deal. um yeah. So when you like go over these games, you'll learn these patterns, and because you're memorizing the whole game, the pattern really does stick in your head a little bit better. I don't know if I would be able to replay this Joseki from memory if I wasn't if I hadn't played through this game. I thought that that was really helpful for me. Um, Here and then here, yeah. So like this whole Joseki, if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. They blitzed it out very quickly, and it was very clear the reasoning behind these moves. Um, and that's something that I really liked because I've always thought about this Joseki a lot, and now I feel like I have a greater understanding of it just from having memorized this game and watched the Baduk TV replay of them playing it out. They play this out very, very quickly. It's really helpful to know so that I have this sequence now. Um, I love learning new Joseki and corner sequences. So having this here was definitely a treat. And then we have our last one, which is Shinjinso versus Paek Hong-seok. Yeah, so this is Shinjinso's bad week, where he lost to two players from the previous era. I believe it was Kang Dong-yun and Paek Hong-seok within a week, and that was like newsworthy of his. This was newsworthy that he lost twice in a week. That's how good he is. It's pretty awesome. But this P8 move was also again like one of these like, wow, you're really playing here, and then understanding the timing of the forcing moves and then playing F7. We hadn't really seen like a kind of massive Moyo game, and it was really cool to watch Shinjinso versus Paek Hong-seok because of the way Shinjinso attacked the different Moyos that appeared in the game and what ended up happening. The high level fighting was really fun to watch in this game, but it all came from moves like F7 and P8. And P8 is something that I thought was kind of crazy, right? You don't see fifth line stuff very often. But in these pro games, really you encounter a lot of these moves that sort of stretch your expectations of what's possible or what candidates can be, and it really widens the kind of moves that you consider throughout a game. And I really liked that about this month. I also really liked the open-ended questions that they asked. So, for example, they asked us what we would play here as black. And it's not a, this is the right move. You should do this, right? It's what would you play and why? After you have watched the review and after you've done a little bit of your own analysis, maybe with an AI or something, what would you do? And AI likes this move, I think, but I came up with this move independently of it, and I really like it. But I also feel like moves like this or this also are very considerable. And looking at it, I definitely uh, this whole exercise was really helpful, comparing D13, D12, C12 in my head, right? Like reading out what sequences I would expect, and then looking at forcing moves in the area, right? These are all things that higher level players all do. So it's really nice to get into the habit of forming, like you're forming these mental habits to do these things, because otherwise it's going to be really hard to implement them in your gameplay, right? So that's something that I thought was very constructive from this month, was that I got to practice thinking in the way a higher level player would, and I really enjoyed that. That was it feels like this is like the clue, the path toward making your ceiling higher, and that's what I really liked about this month. So yeah, those are the 8 games that I went over, and those are my favorite parts from each one. Please definitely give the Awesome Baduk team and Awesome Baduk Masterclass a try if and when they do it again. I had a blast, and I definitely think that it is worth the money. Um, I definitely think that if you are a stronger single digit queue looking to get to 1 Dan, or you are a 1 to, I don't know, 5, 6 Dan player, I feel like you will enjoy yourself quite a bit. I definitely think that if this is not the kind of study that you normally do or enjoy, it is worth your time and money. That is what I would say. Thank you for watching, and maybe I'll make some more videos in the future. But thank you for your time.